Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for yet another Reviewing Your Music stream. I am live on Twitch right now. You're watching this after the fact on YouTube. I'm taking randomly viewer submissions through the Twitch page and just hitting up some of the music that the talented viewers of the YouTube channel and the Twitch page have to offer. And yeah. Everything that we are going to watch in this video is linked down below, so you can check it out for yourselves. And let's see exactly what we are rocking with. Now, before we get started, I want to see a username Ratchet Sloth, a Ratchet Sloth in chat with melons. Throw those melons up in chat, please. I want to see a Ratchet Sloth in chat with melons. There you are. I see you. I see you. You didn't throw up melons, but I see you there. Yo. All right, so a Ratchet Sloth has submitted under the name Robbie Lyons. The song is titled Mute. It's labeled as an alternative pop song. Let's give it a spin and see what it's got to offer. Ba-bam.
Never knew.
Let me re-listen just to the guitar part at the start. I can't quite tell. Okay, I'll start here. So thoughts on that. First thing from the kickoff is I can't quite tell if this is just the guitar itself or if it's kind of that. Clearly, you've put a bit of a lo-fi, somewhat warbly manipulation on this guitar to get it to sound a certain way. And the effect is cool, but I don't know if the effect is kind of throwing the guitar out of tune a little bit, or at least some notes of the guitar out of tune a little bit. I like the chord progression. It's a pretty like tried and true chord progression for a song of this style. But there's something about the harmony of it. Hey, Caspa, appreciate it. Thank you. As always. There's something harmony-wise about it that feels like a little thrown off. I don't know if, there's something like tuning-wise about the guitar or the recording that, could be redone or tightened up there. Outside of that, though, structure of the track was really good. Structure of the track was solid. The way you paced out the verses and the hooks were great. You know your way around a song structure, obviously. The vocals had a very nasally and strange, almost zany delivery to them, which I don't know if that was intentional. I mean, how I would qualify it is it was almost like listening to a stripped-back acoustic R&B cut. But if Animal Collective had written it, like there was almost kind of a Panda Bear-like quality to the timbre of the vocals, and just kind of hearing them in an R&B-ish context was sort of different, There was kind of something maybe in a way like a little refreshing about that. You started to really kind of like go down this rabbit hole of odd vocal effects around the bridge, some of which I felt like were maybe a little overboard or a little obnoxious, but I will say I like the fact that you're trying something. I like that you're at least like taking a little bit of a risk here. You're trying something different with the vocals. That very airy droning organ in the background I thought was a nice touch. That was a nice bit of texture to have in the background for sure. Again, I think there's really something about the track that feels between the guitars, between the vocals, that just feels a little off and a little sour on the harmony end. Like things are not harmonizing as tightly as they possibly could. And I would work mostly and focus mostly on that, at least in regards to this track. I don't know how your other tracks are sounding, but, assuming that you feel like this is your best work, I think there's a lot of potential here. I think, you certainly have some eccentric vocal qualities that are quite nice and certainly stand out. Track had a good groove. And again, the structure was tight as well. And, I like some of the lyrical ideas that you came up with. I mean, all of the, things kind of focusing and orbiting around the phone and the mention of the broken screen and the FaceTime. I thought it was cute. I thought it was endearing. But harmony-wise, I felt like there was definitely something a little off-kilter, whether that be because of tuning not being as good as it could be, not paying attention to the pitch that you're at vocally as much as you could be. Or again, it could have been that, kind of lo-fi-ish effect that you threw on it, throwing things off slightly. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't applied effects like that personally myself to recordings that I've done, so I don't know if there's a great potential of running into that problem when you're doing that sort of thing. But things didn't feel as tightly in tune as they could be, vocally and instrumentally. I would make sure before you're going on any musical or any recording outing that is as perfectly as you could get it. There's a lot of things that you could be sloppy on, and it be a vibe, especially when it comes to experimental music. But you know what? When it comes to R&B, anything in the R&B field, pitch is kind of key. Pitch is key to a lot of the magic. Honestly, it is. I think I'll leave it there. I think I've suggested what I can in terms of what needs to be worked on, but everything else about it was pretty solid. Solid cut. And thank you for submitting. Appreciate it. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, this, along with everything else we're talking about here, is going to get linked down below. Next. Okay, Cool. Okay, Cool Band is the username. Artist, Okay, Cool. Like I said, song Five Finger Exploding Heart Technique. Genre, indie rock. Let's give this one a listen. Let's give it a shot and see what it's got to offer. Ba-bam. Was that it? Jeez. That went by in a flash. I will say, I guess I feel like you could have added a little bit to the back end of that, just a sort of a lighter bridge. Yeah, I feel like maybe you could have added a lighter bridge to that just to add some dynamics or something and maybe build up from there and just bring a really strong climax on the back end and everything. But outside of that, the only other thing that really kind of stuck out to me is during the loudest moments, especially toward the beginning of the track, I feel like the vocals were really just kind of fighting to make their way through, which was a little strange because it's not like it's the most chaotic mix I've ever heard or anything like that. It's actually pretty dry and clean between all the guitar layers and the drums. I suppose I think the bass could maybe have a little bit more treble just to give it some more bite. The bass is there, you feel it, but with all of these mathy guitar layers, give it a little bit more treble, give it some bite. Does your bassist play with a pick? Maybe throw a pick on that bitch. Get a little crunch, a little treble, throw a pick on it. But again, that's just a bassist aesthetic preference, I guess, for this sort of thing. The band sounds tight. The band sounds tight. You guys sound tight as hell. And I like that I'm hearing these math rock sort of aesthetics and ideas applied to, more of a peppy indie pop kind of vibe. There's almost something about the guitar work that reminds me of very early Modest Mouse, Long Drive era Modest Mouse, but it's nowhere near as depressing. It's actually kind of upbeat and sweet on the ears and very fun to listen to, and it's got a great pace to it, which again is kind of due to the fact that the band is so tight, the melodies are so sweet, and while again the guitars are mathy, it doesn't sound like you guys are just throwing a bunch of random shit out there to just kind of fill the air. It's still quite melodic and catchy and engaging. Again, I think the vocals are kind of fighting to get their way through at some points. Maybe they could use a splash of reverb. Maybe they could be EQ'd so they pop a little bit harder. I'm not exactly sure like what the answer is, but I think the vocals could use at least a little bit of clarity. But as far as song structure, the tightness of the band, the pacing of the song, and just how well all the guitar and bass layers came together, it was quite nice. It was quite nice. And while the vocals, I think, could have used a little bit more pop in the mix, I did like the simple melodies that they were delivering because, you know, it was almost like a calmness in the midst of the relative chaos of the very kind of mathy, you know, guitar layers. So, you know, I suppose if I wanted to be slightly mean, you're not, you know, kind of reinventing the wheel on any of this math rock shit, I guess. But you're at a really good foundation point. You know, I feel like considering how tight it sounds and how well structured and, you know, paced and put together the song was, I feel like from here, all you really have to do is like just continue working on, you know, your mixing, working on your layering, and just like figuring out what exactly is, you know, either going to be that sound that takes us over the edge that, you know, listeners and people who are fans of this music kind of recognize us for, or what is that song, you know? I feel like you, at this point, you really either need to be working on your sound or you need to be working on your hit, you know, one of those two. And I feel like at this point, you have the tools to do either. So choose either or choose both, you know, but it sounds like you guys are at a good place right now. You know, there's actually relatively speaking, there's very little, I think, for you to kind of like, you know, have to do here, you know, little for you to do here. You know, I think you guys are in a good place sonically and creatively. So keep on rocking. Okay, cool band. And thanks for coming through. Appreciate you submitting. So under the username Aubrey's Keys, we have artist Aubrey Key, title Sad Cowboy. Sad cowboy emoji. Okay. Genre indie country. All right, Aubrey's Keys. Let's see what we've got with this sad cowboy emoji. Jesus Christ. Let's go. Let's go.
This is a certified hood classic.
Well, at least he is better at guitar. At least they're better at guitar. Nice. Nice. I mean, I am a fan of some lo-fi indie stuff. It sounded like, you know, some sad country Elliott Smith, some sad country Simon Joyner, at least to my ears anyway. I liked it. I guess as far as like a few recommendations that I have, they're mostly structural. I feel like at this point the tune is really solid. I think as you progress through it, you do an intro, you do a verse, you do a chorus, and then as you do that first chorus, add a layer, add an instrument, add a something for, you know, to kind of fill things out, then back off of it, bring the verse back, but maybe slightly altered so there's more variation as you're kind of progressing. And what could that extra something be? It could be a piano, could be a tremolo lead, a tremolo guitar. I mean, just look at country. There's so many options. I mean, I don't know if you have access to a fiddle player, you know, but look, there's all types of people you can reach out to on the internet. You know, I feel like really progression-wise, the song needs more layers. And I could tell toward the end, you know, especially like in that last minute, like when you kind of transition past the 3-minute mark, that you're really trying to like fill things out a little bit more, make it heavier, make it thicker, which it is an option, is a thing. Certainly made the song meditative. But you know what? Like when you were hitting with those almost like 3-note phrases, the bam, 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 bam. I felt like that was almost like the beginning of what could have been a really radical and exciting change. You know, hear me out here, but like beep 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 beep. This is going to sound really stupid, but it's all in my head. Beep 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 beep. Just like literally use that as an excuse to go double time, and then just like literally fucking boop boo ba 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 ba. Get a jug band in there and just really get really fucking sad, cowboy. But you know, honestly, like the last minute there, if you're gonna drag it on past the 3-minute mark, I think you could use some kind of change, some kind of alteration, like a stronger bridge, just kind of a stronger break or something. Again, I could tell you were trying to create some kind of variation by making it a little thicker, but the end result for me was just that it ended up sounding a little more sloshy. If you're going to throw on more layers, just make sure they're more distinct layers, I guess, you know? But generally I did like the tone of the song. I liked the tune. As far as, you know, a lo-fi track in this field goes, I liked the mix. You know, it sounded dirty. It sounded filthy. It sounded intimate. It sounded really raw. It kind of reflected the sadness of the song overall. I just think, you know, structurally the track could use more variation, and instrumentally it could maybe use like a different couple of distinct layers, you know, just like kind of bring it some pizzazz, you know, maybe even a background vocal as well, which could also be you know, but yeah, more layers and a little bit more variation toward the end is really the most recommendations I have. I like the track overall. I think it's a pretty good track. So thank you for submitting. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for your time. Appreciate it. All right, so username Speaker, artist Speaker with Carlo Ferrari. Carlo Ferrari. In a nice Italiano bambino. The song is quéi, if I'm saying that correctly, quéi, and it's labeled as an electronic and experimental cut. Let's give it a taste. Thank you for the sub, Zilladilla. Wow. Me envisioning my death. I have to see what Chad is thinking. What? Voldemort invading Harry Potter's mind type beat. What an ending. It was a bit of a sudden ending. It scared me. Super strong prurient vibes. I got a bit of a throbbing gristle vibe at a few points. Or like a Neubauten vibe at a point as well, if it were more of like a primal techno thing. Like it felt like some very primal techno with elements of industrial and noise mixed in there. Young Boy better. Yeah, that's true. You know, I was thinking this was good, but then I remembered the incredibly profound talents of rapper, singer, artist extraordinaire, NBA Youngboy, Never Broke Again. And thank you for saying that. That really just kind of put things back into perspective. I was under the impression this was good, but then I remembered NBA Youngboy. That's right. I forget about NBA Youngboy. It's true. That's true. Why do we listen to anything else? Well, anyway, I like that quite a bit. I thought that was really good. There were parts of it that were genuinely frightening. Your sound play was quite nice. I think maybe you could work a little bit with maybe some bassier tones. You know, I think the percussion had some great punch to it, but I think some bass, and it doesn't even need to be like a super, complex or melodic bass line. It can be just as grimy and noisy as every fucking else thing in the mix. But maybe some more bass tones or some bass rumble. could have made it sound even heavier and nastier. The screams were terrifying. The vocal samples were quite frightening. The beat was dirty and nasty as hell. And I know there may be a lot of people in chat that kind of disagree with me on this. The one part of it that did not work for me really were the strings. Like, they felt very almost like influenced by the strings from, the Psycho soundtrack, which may in fact be, intentional. But I didn't like the way that the strings, when they introduced themselves, at least for me anyway, they radically changed the groove of the track in a very strong and a very sudden way. Maybe, artistically speaking, you're going for something that is a little disorienting purposefully. I guess I personally didn't really get as much out of that as maybe you guys do who created the track, or maybe some other people in, chat. Oh, DaBaby's vocals were too low. That is true. I didn't hear DaBaby all that much on the track. There could have been more DaBaby. I think, again, those strings really just kind of threw it off a little bit for me. And not that I'm against the idea of a string in there. I think a string would be great, or another layer at some point. I just think that, and then suddenly topping it with, like almost hitting off of that beat. It just felt like it really kind of threw the groove and turned it upside down or just inside out in a way that I guess I was not fully comfortable with. But I mean, that's my most major critique of it. I think maybe the ending could be stronger, just noisier, more abrasive, more climactic, just really leave people with the most horrifying impression that you possibly can in the last few seconds. That would be my recommendation. Outside of that, again, loved the grooves, loved the sounds you chose and that you crafted and that you worked with. Loved the layering for the most part outside of the strings. And I found it to be really engaging from front to back. It was just really cool. Again, it was a really cool crossroads between techno, noise, industrial. It was quite good. And thank you for submitting. It was really neat. It was a really neat track. I guess that's the title of this. The title of this track is but a humble request. I can recall many a time I've had to say, "Hey, listen, don't fuck me. I'm sleeping here, huh? Don't fuck me. I'm sleeping over here, huh?" Just to, give a little, imagine it's in a Sopranos episode. "Hey, Tony, don't fuck me. I'm sleeping over here, huh? Gabagool." So, it's just give it a little Italiano bambino. So great. Amazing. So, Alec has submitted artist, later Alligator, song, "Don't Fuck Me, I'm Sleeping, huh?" The genre is labeled chapel rock. I don't know if that's a really kind of hipster way of saying Christian rock, which I can't think of anything more Christian than not fucking someone while they're sleeping. That does seem to be God's way. Let's give this a try and see what exactly we're working with here. I want to go back and sample one more thing. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Cool. Thank you for submitting. Awesome. Amazing. Thank you, later Alligator, for that experience that you just bestowed upon us. And keep in mind, on SoundCloud, this now says that it has 4 streams. This was some exclusive shit. We just listened to like some real like exclusive shit. Just 4 streams. Got 9,000 people here chilling. We just now add this plus 9,000 because we all listen to it together. Obviously, becomes a greater experience. But okay, here are my thoughts. Obviously, it's not it's not chapel rock. It's like slightly gothic post-punk. Okay, it's like slightly gothic post-punk with sort of a Joy Division-esque edge. But, you know, I think instrumentally all the elements were there and it was pretty tight. And I think the song had some, you know, a great variety of passages and sections to it. Thank you for the sub. Appreciate it. But I think the vocals could be a bit more foreboding. You know what I mean? There were points where, especially in the first leg, I think the vocals almost had a light indie rock sort of timbre and character trait to them. I think things got a bit, you know, more dire and urgent over that bridge, especially as you reached into your upper register. But vocally, I think it could be a bit more foreboding. I think it'd be a little more ominous, you know? I don't think you have to go like really try to overdo it and just like go full Nick Cave and be like, you know, do like an Ian Curtis impression or anything like that. But I think the vocals could be a bit more foreboding, especially considering how generally driving and dark the music sounds. I will say the mix sounds a tad bit muddy. And look, you know, using a record like Unknown Pleasures as a framework, obviously that record has sonically a lot of bleed to it. You know, that's understandable. I think if that's, you know, almost your inspiration point or an inspiration point, there's going to be a little bit of that. But, you know, I will say there were elements in the mix, like, for example, those little kind of speedy guitar licks that you were throwing in there that are like, that could be a little higher. They could be a little bit louder. I feel like they were just a little bit too buried in the mix. And there were points where those guitars and that bass and those drums were almost like kind of melting into a singular beam of sound, and kind of the groove and the body of it was being a little bit lost because it just felt a little mushy. I think it could be cleaned up just a little. You know, it doesn't need to be so clean that it's dry and there's no atmosphere to it. You know, it could just be cleaned up slightly, you know, and you'd still be able to have plenty of room for atmosphere in it. The other thing I wanted to note was, while I liked the various sections of the track, I think you could be doing more to space them out a little bit so that when a certain section or portion hits, you really feel it and you're really just, that transition really hits you. Like, for example, when you hit that beat switch on the chorus, where all of a sudden you're throwing in that kick and hi-hat pattern that you've got going on there, you just kind of quickly break into it in such a quick fashion. It's like, whoa, I'm hearing the chorus now, or I'm hearing whatever section of the track this is all of a sudden. You know, you don't need to come up with an amazing instrumental build to transition into that to give it more impact. You could literally, for a bar or two, drop almost everything instrumentally out, give us a little ba-ba, like on the snare or some shit like that, and then that little ta-ta, like, you know, is an effective transition into that section. Just kind of quickly breaking into it with no fill, no segue, no nothing. It's kind of like you're just going straight from foreplay to sex, and the vibe of this song is, don't fuck me, I'm sleeping. Okay? I'm sleeping right now. Wake me up first, or, you know, warm me up to the idea. You know, be kind. Be someone who accesses and seeks out consent. So give us a bit of a transition point into that hook, and out of the hook as well, as you kind of go back into the original beat of the song as well. Make us feel each section as we're moving into it. You know, make us feel those transitions. Come up not just with the A, B, C sections of your song, but come up with the little segues and transitions that bring us from each portion of that track. You know, obviously, there are songs that skimp that and, just kind of give up on that entirely and are great in their own right. But, as a general songwriter rule of thumb and for someone who's just starting out, these are kind of like song assembly basics that you should be working on for sure. But outside of that, I don't really have too much to add. I thought it was a rockin' track. I mean, you guys saw me. I was enjoying it much of the time over here. And, as far as like some SoundCloud post-punk goes with a bit of a goth flavor to it, it was decent. It was quite good. All right. Look, this has been another segment of reviewing your music. I had a good time. I hope all of you did, especially on YouTube if you're watching this right now. Over here next to my head is another video that you could check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Subscribe if you can. And make sure to check out past episodes of the series and future episodes of the series too. Anthony Fantano, love you forever.